So of course Bandai needs to drop the biggest bombshell for the latest set OP17 while I'm away on a road trip. And I'm more specifically talking about the new cards that they talked about, like the Rocks, the Luffy, the Baki Kaido. I mean, what are we doing here? But I don't want to focus too much on OP17, right? I want to focus more on the broader market because, guys, something's kind of happening that I feel like not many people are really paying attention to, and it might sound a little silly at first, but let's start this video off with a question. Do you think Bandai is creating too many banger products? Now, at first, I know what you're thinking. Of course, that's a great thing, right? But if you're somebody who's looking to invest in the One Piece TCG, or you're somebody who is looking to put money in certain cards and sets and all that sort of stuff, get products, it could actually, in fact, be a not so great thing. And we're going to look at the broader state of the One Piece TCG market, and we're going to speculate where this might all be going, because guys, it's not as straightforward as you think. We're going to be talking about some economics today too, so stay tuned for that. But before we get into it, guys, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And like always, if you want to get some gamer subs and get a discount, click the link down in the description below. Get 10% off your order using code Theory or Papa. Enjoy yourself some gamer subs today. All right, guys, without any further ado, let's start talking. Okay, so for today's video, guys, I thought it'd be fun if we could use a whiteboard. It's not a whiteboard, it's a green board, but we're going to use this board to basically talk about some stuff, have some visuals, all that sort of great stuff. But first of all, can we just talk about how insane these new cards are for OP17? I know I'm a little late to the game. I know it's been out for a week already, but guys, you can't imagine how frustrating it was being on a little vacation and having probably one of the biggest pieces of news for the OP-TCG drop while I was away. But like, the new chase cards, the new grails for this set are astronomical. You know, we're obviously talking about the pirate crew rarity, this new form of rarity for the One Piece TCG with Luffy and the crew, and of course Rocks and the crew. I mean, absolute insanity. And personally, I think the Baki card was a nice touch. I thought that was really cool. But guys, OP17 is turning out to be an absolute insane set, and it's kind of where I want to start. This year has been the biggest year for One Piece ever. Okay, the One Piece TCG exploded back in like what, November of last year. You know, things in the TCG world have been exploding in general. But guys, let's start off with the fact that I think Bandai is starting to create a bit of market fatigue right now. So obviously over the last few months, there's been a lot of hype going on, so many promos. So many cards have been entering the scene. The Dodgers card, the Watermelon Luffy, the 29th anniversary Luffy, the museum Luffy, the Dodgers Luffy. There's just been so many freaking promos going on right now. And for your average One Piece investor, this looks juicy. You know, you're happy about this. You're like, yes, keep them all coming. Okay, I'm going to buy them all up. But here is the problem with this scenario, okay? We are reaching a point now where with all of this product, all of this demand, we're starting to create market fatigue. Now, if you've got a ton of money in the One Piece TCG, or you're a local game store, or you've got a huge business around cards, none of this is really going to be an issue for you, right? But when we're talking about the broader market, and I find most people, especially the bigger money, doesn't really consider the retail investors in anything, because, you know, it's very easy to say, well, you know, who cares about the peasants? The major issue here is that we're getting too many products on the market too quickly. We're getting too many banger sets on the market too quickly, and it's really just starting to create this fatigue for a lot of people. And I know you feel it. We talked about burnout not too long ago on the channel. There's definitely been a lot more people being a little more open about the One Piece TCG. And by the way, I am in no way fear-mongering or insinuating that the One Piece TCG is doomed, or we're going to have like a massive correction or anything like that. But I do think if we don't play our cards right, especially Bandai, it could create some form of a market crash. Now again, that doesn't necessarily mean the One Piece TCG is doomed long-term or anything. I'm not saying that. But there are things like market cycles which have merits. This is a real thing, guys, and we've gone through this before. And for anyone scoffing at, oh, they're cards, dude, they're cards, what are you talking about? This is more about investor psychology than anything else. And people who are buying cards to collect, to invest, to play the game, no matter what, you are still a part of this market. So even if you don't agree with the principles behind what's going on here. So obviously there's been an accumulation phase, a markup phase, a distribution phase. I personally think that if Bandai keeps creating a ton of products, a ton of hype constantly, we will see a markdown because of market fatigue. Now, there's other things I'm going to bring up too, but I just think the market cannot keep up with all of these products dropping because people are going to start rotating their capital from different sets, from different cards. Like prices keep going up. We're going to start seeing people rotating from different forms of capital within the OPTCG into other things like, OP17. I've been seeing a lot of people say they're trying to sell their previous boxes and stuff so they can buy a bunch of this. It's going to, in a way, fundamentally devalue certain cards in the short term, because I don't believe it's all necessarily a net negative long term, because obviously as time goes on, things will become valuable anyways. But things like the Gear 5 Luffy from OP05, this set right here, there's been weird debate about people saying, well, this Luffy's going to be way better, okay? And obviously, this is the first Rocks card, so I think this is just going to be sick anyways, but we've got a ton of Gear 5 Luffys, and people are saying, well, this Luffy's going to go down. It's going to create a bit of a sell-off. People might try and quickly sell their cards. Maybe some people go under market because they want to buy up this thing. When everybody's buying this thing, price go up. And obviously, if this is going to be a super rare type of card, maybe even rarer than getting a manga card, we have no idea, it will pump this card to the freaking moon. I made a short while I was gone insinuating this card was going to be over $5,000. People are saying it's going to be a $20,000 card. No one really knows. But all I'm really trying to say here is that there's way too much product going on here where there's so much FOMO being generated. And while in hindsight you might think it's a good thing, I personally think Bandai needs to cool it off. Okay? Lots of people out there, they're constantly chasing the next hype. They're basically getting their grail cards, and then this new thing comes out and they're like, oh my god, I don't have the money for this. Or maybe they're going in debt. Maybe they're making really bad financial decisions. They're selling other products to get this product. It's not, new money isn't necessarily rotating into the One Piece TCG like it used to. And again, this is not necessarily fact. It is more human psychology. We have seen this happen in other things as well, in other markets. But that was kind of the first few points I wanted to make. So, market fatigue and supply rotation within the One Piece TCG, not necessarily getting new money in here. I think that Bandai also needs to cool it with the cards and the badass sets, okay? I think OP18 and OP19 should probably semi-mid sets. Now, you could argue that since OP13 here, OP14 and OP15 were kind of mid, and that OP16 was all right, and then OP17 is like super awesome. So you could argue like, hey, like not all the sets have been the best. But you could argue that with all the promos also being thrown into the mix too, it's just creating way too much product too quickly, and it's really kind of market pricing and proper pricing for products. Things might be overbought, things might be oversold. So I personally think there just needs to be a balance in this whole ecosystem rather than just creating constant chase after chase after chase, like FOMO. I mean, listen, we've all felt this, all right here. But I think the biggest point I want to make about all this, even if you disagree with all my points, is the fact that there is a consumer spending ceiling. And what does that exactly mean? Well, it basically means, guys, there is a finite amount of spending that people can put into this hobby. Basically, what it means is there's only a finite amount of money from consumers that can go into the OPTCG at any given time before we basically hit a wall, and then, of course, things start to plummet. That's where the psychology of these markets come from. It's not insinuating that this markdown is going to go lower than the accumulation phase. It just simply means that we will see a downturn. These are the things that lead to crashes. These are the things that kind of make people want to take a break. They want to take a step back, or maybe they've had enough, right? Maybe for a lot of collectors out there, they've said, you know what? I've got way too many grails now. I think I'm going to start looking at other things, or I'm going to take a break, or maybe, the prices have gone up. I'm just going to sell it and leave the hobby for good. So while it's obviously good to be careful when you're putting money in this hobby, when there is constant FOMO being put into the market, and I mean constant, like not every couple of months, like this has just been, I swear to God, every week, there's been news after news dropping for One Piece lately. And as a One Piece fan, as a One Piece lover, it's great, but like, I even can't, I can't keep trying to get all of these cards. And of course with the FOMO, there's timing too, because it's not like you can just get these cards whenever, all right? Like, when these cards first come out, maybe they'll be $5,000, and maybe they'll instantly go to $20,000. Maybe there's some actual true scarcity situation going on here that we haven't seen before with Bandai. Maybe it has the same pull rate as a manga. We have absolutely no idea. Maybe this is more rare than the red mangas. If this was more rare than the red mangas, would it actually make the red mangas plummet in price? Do you see where I'm going with here? All of these factors are playing a role with everything. This whole ecosystem is constantly being affected with every new set that comes out. And if Bandai came out tomorrow and said, hey, we're gonna reprint the hell out of OP17, would these prices crash? Yes, they would absolutely plummet, and then that would affect everything. Will they be doing reprints? We have no idea. But the other thing too, by the way, besides reprints, is that Bandai does not actually release numbers. We have no idea if every new set Bandai continues to print more and more and more of these sets without really saying it's a reprint or there's going to be a reprint. We don't know if these waves are getting bigger and bigger, because again, that's secret information Bandai would not release. Now, while it may seem that OP17 is this insane, FOMO, gonna be the craziest cards ever, the rarest cards ever, you might not be taking into account that the first wave of the blue bottom Romance Dawn boxes are way more rarer than OP17 will ever be. And that also goes for, say, OP09 and OP05. Maybe not so much OP13 because there was a reprint and it's still semi-close. It's only a year ago from this set. But all I'm trying to say is we have no idea how many actual boxes they're making, and it would kind of make sense that Bandai also wants to increase their profits as well. If they're just staying within the same amount, selling an MSRP, they're not really going to keep getting growth in their business, right? So just to wrap this all up, in case I've been a little confusing about all this, what am I trying to say? Well, I'm basically trying to say that Bandai needs to kind of slow it down a little bit, come back to earth, prioritize the first anniversary sets like they've obviously been doing, or sorry, the anniversary sets. But we should cool it down on the promos. We should probably cool it down on the Luffys, okay? We've got so many goddamn Luffys. I get it, he's like the Pikachu of One Piece, but can we get some, different characters, okay? Seriously. Where are my Law mains at, you know what I'm saying? Where are my Robins? Where are my Frankies? Okay? Where are the Brooks, dude? Even Sanji's, not getting as much attention as Zoro, and I guess it's, based on popularity, too, with the Straw Hats, but the point I'm trying to make, guys, is, there's just too many Luffys, there's too many cool cards, there's too much FOMO, it's gonna create market fatigue. And while things may go down in the short term, I don't think the One Piece market is doomed, or it's going to crash, or we're going to see a massive correction. And of course, with the Naruto TCG looming around the corner, we may in fact see a massive correction during that time. Not because I think Naruto is going to be bigger than One Piece, but because it's going to be the next new shiny thing, and a lot of people with big money are going to be like, well, I'm going to get way more return on these investments right now than I will with One Piece. Maybe over time they come back again and whatever, but until we get to these points in the future, we're not really going to know for sure. So at the end of the day, guys, just, set a budget with your collecting and investing and all that sort of stuff. Don't chase the FOMO. Have a plan. Have an exit strategy if you're honestly looking to sell and make some money out of this. But if you're looking to collect and you literally keep putting yourself in massive debt because Bandai can't help but make crazier and crazier looking cards, just take a step back and realize that at the end of the day, this is just cardboard. This is just cards. It's not the end of the world if you can't get every card. There's plenty of cards I want, and I've accepted that they're just too out of my price range. That's life, right? We can't all get the shiny Corvette. Sometimes we gotta settle with the Subaru or something, right? But overall, guys, I hope this was informative. I hope this kind of adjusted some perspectives. It's okay to be excited about new sets, but constantly FOMOing in because everyone's hyped about the next big card can cause problems. And if we all start spending our money, especially during hard times, because let's be really frank, it's hard times right now. Many of us might have to step out of the One Piece market, not by choice, but because of circumstance. So be careful out there. None of this is financial advice. Do what you want with your money. But remember, guys, it's fun to be in the One Piece TCG hobby. It's not fun to be broke. But anyways, guys, I hope you did enjoy this video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video.